All right, guys. Apparently, Anna Kasparian went on to Adam and Stitch, which, by the way, I've seen a couple of their like clips because like they do like 8-hour live streams sometimes. And they're pretty cool. You know, nothing to really complain about when it comes to them. Seem like cool guys, cool fellas. Anyway, people keep sending me the full thing and then sending me, I don't know, a bunch of stuff. I was going to watch a clip of that, but it seems like it goes deeper than that. People are criticizing Anna Kasparian for whatever, I guess, because she's a liberal that's doesn't hate conservatives. I don't know. Maybe I'll learn more. I figure Hasan is the best place to go, right? He was part of the Young Turks because his uncle got him a job there, and I guess he knows her personally, and he says that she's lost it. So let's see. Let's see what we got. That's what we're gonna see. We're gonna see what we got. That's what it's called. Anna Kasparian is lost.
A lot of people are like, "Oh, well, Jank's your uncle, so you like still work at the Young Turks or something." Like, bitch, I've been on my own since 2020. It's been 3 years. I have zero idea on anything that goes on in those inside of those facilities. I don't know why people are just like, "Dude, you have to."
They probably go to the bathroom. I have an idea of that, you know, there's usually bathrooms in facilities, right? So
to address your uncle's crimes. It's like, motherfucker, everybody has an uncle that they don't agree with. You know what I mean? I'm not the first. Sure. And I will not be the last. Anytime they get into some shit, they yell at me. Like, everybody's always like, bro, Hasan, address this. I'm like, okay, sure. Both you and Anna were my favorites on TYT when you were there. And while I don't expect you to know what's going on, I do value any commentary you may have. I'm just really disappointed, you know? Yeah, I don't know. It seems like all the empathy and sense followed you out the door when you left TYT. I think that transphobia is...
Well, I mean, okay, I'll see.
...is insidious.
Wow. I mean, how could you even disagree with this? A base take.
The way that it starts taking over your mentality in your life.
It's like a parasite.
And
what did she say that was?
That's what is going on. Probably. I'm not.
What did she say that was transphobic?
I'm not fully aware of what is happening, but the reality is this, right? My commentary on this issue is going to be probably identical to what I've said so far. That's part of the reason why.
Hold on. I like his hat. I'm going to get a comparable hat. This is my Mappa hat. It's make pee pee poo poo again. Right. So let's do that. Beautiful stuff.
I'm always like, ugh, we got to talk about this again. It's a situation where you can have like any kind of valid gripe, right? Or like any kind of minor criticism. But in many circumstances, allyship means you're not going to fucking like take a minute issue that's not even really an issue at all and like put it on the fucking forefront. Because the people that
I don't know, Hasan, a real trans ally would not have played Hogwarts Legacy. So, you know, base, am I right?
That are people who want to constantly weaponize any kind of like cringe, for example, a marginalized community member might be behaving as. I've talked about this a lot, where it's like cringe is not illegal, and if someone is being cringe, for example, if someone from we're
talking about Dylan Mulvaney. Dylan Mulvaney is very cringe, but not because she's trans. You know, she looks pretty good with that blonde hair, though. I'm just saying. I would subscribe. You know what I'm saying? But you know what? The reason that she's cringe is because she's a theater nerd. People don't really know that about it doesn't matter who you come across. If they're a theater nerd, just don't be their friend. You know what I mean? So, you know, theater nerds do be theater nerding.
Minority group is being cringe, for example. That doesn't mean that like this is representative of everything. It's not politics. Sure. You're just like looking at every and any kind of reason you can to get upset at people. I don't even know what Anna said or did. I've only seen like some memes like this. You got to get your leftist card revoked. What the hell? The civil rights movement did not use the same strategies as the trans movement. They didn't barricade speakers when they disagreed in a classroom for 3 hours. They persuaded through nonviolence and showing America their humanity.
Damn, I already know where this is gonna go. So, like, the people... So, I don't know specifically what she was referring to. She might be referring to people looting and rioting and whatnot. The reason why, like, a progressive would say that's wrong is it would be considered some kind of tone policing of, like, a marginalized group about, like, the correct way to do particular discourse. You know... I mean, it depends on what it is. Like, if we're referring to people looting and rioting and burning down their own cities... You might say that that's not necessarily helping anybody coming to the realization that there's, you know, systemic issues. In the same way where, like, if you're insisting you can't be racist to white people, thinking that that's actually going to be a positive conversation about removing systemic racism, you're also, you know, you're not actually doing the right thing either. That's not really a conversation about systemic racism. It's just meant to incite and justify hatred towards, like, white people. You know, I get we deserve it, but, you know, give me a break. But no, seriously, it's not like it's an unconstructive conversation. But that's what they're going to come from with that. I just don't know the context of it. What is she specifically talking about?
Movement. They didn't barricade speakers when they disagreed in a classroom for 3 hours. They persuaded through nonviolence and showing America their humanity. It's kind of funny because like this take is not all that different than what they have said in the past. If you like really listen to what TYT says all the time, like it's the classic like, well, you know, MLK was nonviolent, whereas Malcolm X was like not the best. Even though Cenk does concede and say that which by the way is ahistorical, but Cenk does concede and say that there's two sides to this coin. And that, you know, without Malcolm X, MLK doesn't work on his own. You know what I mean? So he does recognize that. It is pretty funny. I don't know who the fuck got barricaded.
Why? Because he's black? Sounds kind of racist to me.
Barricaded for 3 hours. I don't even know what this is. The irony is that, like, yeah, all kinds of political movements that have worked against hierarchical constructs are always going to be considered violent because they're uprooting the pre-established norms, the pre-established rules of society.
Maybe. I guess it depends on what it is, though. Again, like if we're talking about like destruction, like destruction of property, especially like black-owned businesses in some areas, that may not be that might not be the most constructive way to go. But
so,
Krella, you did theater for 7 years. Damn. Papa is the only person who I followed on TikTok and then started watching their long-form content. Hey, Barry Poggers, thank you.
Ultimately, it doesn't matter, even if it's like literally baby politics. Okay. In the same way that shitting on trans people and the violence that comes along with that, or the normalization of the violence that comes along with that, is not seen as violent.
That's an interesting point, actually. Okay. That's kind of an interesting point, actually. That's actually, I didn't really think about it like that.
I'll
respond to that again after this.
$4.99 Papagut. I'm a theater nerd. What have I
really
become?
Well, you know, like I was saying before, theater nerds are the greatest people in the world, Trigan. That's what I meant to say. That's an interesting point, though, because I don't know if I fully agree with every part of it, but that kind of makes sense. I mean, what's being said here is like, hey, the only reason that it's considered violent, or at the very least, the reason why it might be considered more violent is because it goes against the status quo, whereas things that follow the general status quo aren't considered violent. But like, yeah, I mean, you know, okay, maybe. Okay. I can eat that up a little bit.
Because it is the pre-existing construct. You can go out and dehumanize trans people. You can go out and like misgender trans people. And there's going to be debate around whether or not that is even hate speech to begin with.
I guess. Sure. I guess so. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess that, yeah, okay, sure. And that would be because people just don't understand it. Sure. That would be why there would be a debate on that.
That in and of itself is a clear and obvious indication that as long as you are on board with the pre-existing hierarchical standards, then you're never going to be seen as quote-unquote violent. Okay, so this is ahistorical, especially from that perspective, because the civil rights movement, regardless of all of the non-violent components, all of the peaceful, non-violent forms of resistance, was overall, at the time, and still even to this day, seen as a violent movement. The only reason why people don't consider it a full-blown violent movement now is because we live in the post-civil rights movement world where some of those civil liberties that were gained, which are being shred to bits every single fucking day, are taken for granted. Like, you can't go back and be like, MLK was a bad guy, because we live in the post-MLK world. Whereas, at the time, holy shit, people certainly were not fond of Martin Luther King. I think, what was it? Like, at the time of his assassination, he had a 25% approval rating. 66% of Americans disagreed with Martin Luther King. Damn. It's actually insane that this is the hill she's dying on. This is what listening to Jesse Signal does to your brain. She literally admitted to subscribing to his Substack and podcast. Oh, no.
My thing is that, like, for so far, I mean, maybe I'm wrong about it, but it seems like kind of like a one-off comment. Like, why do you have to be the perfect, maybe she has some ideas you don't agree with. Does that make it bad necessarily? Like, if her fundamental argument is like, hey, I prefer peaceful, nonviolent protest, does that make her a horrible person, even if she's being a little bit of a silly goose by your logic? And even if I could see that you're right? Like,
always amazing to see Anna and Jen keep seeing a song getting more and more popular instead of thinking, hey, maybe we got to shift a bit more to the left, perhaps be a little bit more loose and casual. They go to opposite of what if we were Tim Pool?
So what you're saying is that you want them to lie about the way that they feel and represent issues because Hasan's popular. Hasan's also popular because he's young, younger, and he's attractive. But, you know, and Cenk, let's just be real, he's not that attractive. He's all right, but can never be on Hasan's status.
I think one of those situations, one of the weirdest parts about like Twitter spats like this, if you are truly someone who doesn't want to highlight and promote more transphobia is just eating shit sometimes. Sometimes you just gotta eat shit. You know what I mean? I do it all the fucking time. I don't know why other content creators don't recognize that, like, we come from a profoundly privileged perspective. So you know, there's no reason to ever, if you are truly a person who cares about these sorts of things, there's literally no reason to fucking constantly fight over this stuff. I get into it regularly as well. I get into spats regularly as well. But the only difference is that, like, when I get into spats, it's usually on like marginal things that people still have a tendency to turn into like gigantic issues on Twitter. You said this during the last TYT drama, they refused to take the L. Yeah, a lot of what I'm saying is the exact same as the last TYT drama. Like, there's still a gigantic subsect of Twitter that thinks I'm transphobic. You know what I mean? It's laughable, and it ultimately doesn't matter. You know, there are people who are like, oh, Hasan is fucking, he never listens. Like, he never listens to allies. He's like transphobic. He's racist. You know, Based. Who cares? Just do your thing. Getting shit on.
Based.
Taking it is absolutely just a part of being online, and Gen Xers who are on Twitter should have don't understand that. Yeah, people I think like, well, we've put a lot of time and effort. Here's a Pulitzer Prize winning picture of the black students who, amid disputes with the administration, took over Willis Strait Hall at Cornell in 1969. The sanitized and child-friendly version of history makes liberals into reactionaries. The very plain reality of the civil rights movement was that it was constantly accused of the exact same excesses of modern movements, but the modern trans right effort is significantly less militant, not more. Yeah, 100%. Is this it? Terrified swimming champion Riley gains his ambush by screaming trans activists and hit twice by a guy in a dress after saving women's sports speech at San Fran State University. And I'm
not understanding. So let's see. Riley ambushed by a screaming trans activist and hit twice by a guy. Is the guy actually a guy, or is he trans or something? Oh fuck. Dress saying trans women's sport. Okay, well that's violent. You shouldn't be doing that, even if you disagree with whatever they're saying. I mean, I'm assuming that they're talking about how trans women in sports will basically push out cisgendered women, which is kind of true. I mean, that's the reality. I understand. I'll say there is a biological advantage, and you'll say, well, there's always biological advantages. Like, yeah, of course, but like we separate them usually by sex. And the reality is that like, if you let trans women compete in sports, no trans woman is transitioning to be better in sports. Like, that's one thing that's deeply transphobic to think that, but. The reality is trans women, generally speaking, especially ones that go through a male puberty, are going to still have biological advantages that are going to make all, like, just generally speaking, trans women rise to the top. So, yeah. Is that what's the problem with that, I guess?
Let's say there were no arrests. Daily Mail. Is this it? Is this what Anna's talking about? Also, what champion, bro? Oh. She's the champion of sucking ass, okay? Dude, it's so...
Well, if she got hit, then there should be arrests. Wait, I thought we were talking about, like, BLM or something. If she's just referring to that, like, yeah, you shouldn't be punching people. I don't understand, but okay.
I'm transparent. Like, all you need to fucking say is trans people suck, and they're not real. And, like, there is a built-in audience that will go, oh, my God, you're so brave. You're so goated. Oh, King, please. You are a champion. You're a champion in my heart. These fucking... participation trophy-ass motherfuckers, dude. I swear to God. This is what she's freaking out about, not what you're looking at. This, why bonus hole is going viral on Twitter and what that means? I don't think so. Wait, what? Yes, it is Hasan, Jesus Christ. Wait, what? I don't make things up, but my point is that this stuff turns people off. It's not really controversial. The bonus hole? What is happening here? What? No way. She's not saying pussy too. That's the reason why we're mad. There's a new hole? Is it pussy too? What's happening? Was Obama right? I just realized. Pussy too is trans pussy. That's it. Trans woman pussy is pussy too. AKA the bonus hole, dude. What the fuck? Yo, Obama was right.
And pussy too.
Protecting the transgender community is important. However, when you move out of or move far away from making sure that they are not denied housing, making sure that they're not denied healthcare, when you move into like these more fringe areas of like, I mean, there was a story out of the UK this week, blows my mind. There was an LGBTQ group in the UK who suggested that instead of referring to vaginas as vaginas because it might be offensive to transgender men.
Yeah, this kind of stuff I hate so much. Again, it's always like marginal shit. Like who cares?
Well, I wanted to hear the rest of what you're saying, but I probably am going to agree with Hasan. Like, I just don't care. Like, moving to birthing people instead of women, I just don't care. Like, okay, I don't give a shit. Like, I personally, it doesn't mean anything to me. Like, it's not a big deal. Nobody's really offended. It's like forced outrage. Just people being uncomfortable, trans people. Who cares if they want to call them fucking people's pussies instead of women's pussies? I don't care. Okay, it just doesn't matter. Like, it's just like such a non-issue to me. I feel like there's actual things that matter in the world, and like how we refer to vagina isn't really like number one on my list. So like I'm probably going to agree with Hasan, but I'm also not going to look at her and be like, oh my God, what a loser. I'm just going to be like, okay, you're pearl clutching is what I'd say. So
cares. And then you look into the story, and it's always, bro, this is literally the Gamergate neck-bearded weirdos that used to cultivate a movement around like shitting on the Young Turks and all manner of progressive politics online in the 2014, 2015 era of online politics. You read a one-sided article that looks...
Yeah, and birthing person would probably just be put into laws. Like, yeah, probably. That makes the most sense. Like, hey, we want to protect trans people, so we're going to make sure instead of saying, like hey, women in having babies in hospitals are... protected by law C75094. You can't put an extra I don't know, whatever the fuck they're in there. You say birthing persons so that it's like equal. Like, who cares? It's just fucking language in the law. Who gives a shit?
Sit like some extremely fringe shit, and then you represent it as though this is like a community-backed movement, and then you get mad about it. It's like, instead of going, yeah, who cares about this? It's some random fringe shit. Shut the fuck up, please. And then move on and talk about the actual issue at hand, which is anti-trans legislation being passed at the state legislature level that is genuinely harmful, which I know Anna would probably consider as well. Like, getting annoyed at a singular trans person, or getting annoyed at like one random fucking fringe group being like, we can't call.
Well, I would say again, like the bigger issue, like of I don't know, somebody getting beat up or whatever. That's not good. Like, you shouldn't be. You should have hot take. Don't punch people. They should have arrested that person, I guess. But okay.
Call it a vagina. We need to call it something else. It's just so. It's silly. It's just unproductive. It's counterproductive if you are interested in defending trans rights. And look no further than the likes of Ben Shapiro, who regularly do turn this into legitimate discourse. Right? I mean, look at it this way. Are we really going to act like trans people are not genuinely consistently under attack by the right-wing media apparatus when like Anheuser-Busch made one fucking beer can with Dylan Mulvaney's face on it, and now they still haven't shut the fuck up about it. Like, the Republicans still haven't shut the fuck up about it. Like,
he's kind of right about this. Like, he's kind of right about this. Again, I don't think that we need to attach Anna Kasparian in this in like this such a deep way, but like, yeah, conservatives really don't have any meaningful reform or anything, so they just kind of they cry about trans people all the time. Like, if they cried about trans people and they also had like actual like policy, I'd be okay, whatever. But they're not even trying at this point. It's just shit on trans people. At any cost is pretty much all it is.
You saw Dylan, one of these sick perverts.
Like, it's so annoying. Again, people will be like, oh, I feel like LGBTQ shit is in my face all the time. And I was like, close your eyes, bro, right? But like, I hear people say that all the time, especially that live around me, where this is really not something that happens. And some people might actually have it in their face a lot, maybe. I would say most people don't, and they are just told that they do, and they don't realize that they're just kind of being sheep about it. You know, it's kind of annoying, especially since the thing that's in my face, like, we literally have, I thought it would hit him. We literally have, like, in God we trust on our money, and yet we're complaining how the LGBTQ shit is too much in our face. It's like, you really? You know what I mean? It's just like, what do you think is more in our face? Religion is, and that's fine. Like, you do you. But I mean, it's really not in our face as much as you're claiming it is. So, just saying. Who
almost always is a chaser, by the way. Literally was refreshing Dylan Mulvaney's like Instagram page to be like, oh my God, she posted a photo. And then they found out that Bud Light had done like one SpawnCon on her fucking profile, and they turned it into like a matter of national news. I don't want to talk about this shit. I don't think it's important. I think it's very fucking stupid. And I think that whenever there are certainly cringe trans people too. I mean, cringe is not unique to any kind of subsect of society, and trans people or activists can sometimes be very fucking cringe. They can be empathetic, but then simultaneously be incredibly fucking cringe. Like, turning that into a matter of national news instead of just going, fuck that, who gives a shit, move on. Well, then you're participating, whether willingly or unwillingly, in just justifying a space for more transphobia to exist. So what happened? Let's see what happened with
he's kind of right about that too. I mean, well, yeah, I'd say he's right about that too. I'd say that another part of the component is when people, so like you saying before, like there are Ben Shapiro's who complain about like Dylan Mulvaney every other day. And I think it's fine to give pushback and be like, okay, you're just being like a silly goose. But sometimes people will engage with it in such like a hyperbolic way. Well, they'll have like almost like a meltdown because Ben Shapiro or somebody else is saying something dumb about trans people sometimes. And I feel like sometimes the response is probably to just treat it like it is. It's stupid. You know, don't give it more energy than it needs to be given, because it's just kind of like silly goosery, right? Like, that doesn't really matter necessarily. Oh shit, I'm dead. This guy's not even gonna save me.
With the situation that she's talking about.
Might be offensive to transgender men. You know, one of the potential replacements or substitutes could be bonus hole.
Wait, bonus hole? Wait, it is actually bonus hole. Why?
Wait, I'm not understanding. Is she saying we should call trans women's vaginas bonus holes? That sounds offensive to me. I mean, that's not a good idea. You know, I call it the limited edition. I call it the custom job. That's what I like to call. I'm gonna be for real though. Like, why not put like a motor in there? You got the opportunity. You might as well make your vagina better, you know? But
why bonus holes going viral on Twitter and what the term means. First of all, is it going viral on Twitter? Gives a fuck. What, you know what else goes viral on Twitter? The most unhinged Nazi propaganda. Who cares? After spending a little time on social media, you have to be wondering what is a bonus hole and why the term is all over your Twitter feed. Whose Twitter feed is this all over? It's not all over my Twitter feed. What the fuck?
I wish I was seeing bonus holes.
Cancer Trust, in partnership with the LGBT Foundation, LGBTQ plus charitable organization, began suggesting the term bonus hole be used as a way to support trans men and non-binary people. According to their glossary, a bonus hole is an alternative word for the vagina and recommend checking what? Whenever someone like Yahoo says it's going viral, it's absolutely not. Yeah, dude, if this shit was going viral, the Washington Post would be covering it, which, by the way, they probably will now. Bro, this is literally like trans girls calling their gawk the princess wand.
I could see why they would do that in like 2012 or something? Because like back then we were much more regressive on these issues. So it's like, oh, let's call it a bonus hole right now. This way everybody's happy. You know, it's the same thing where like back in like 2015, gay union was considered kind of like based because it was marriage, but without the term marriage, kind of a thing. So I guess, but then we got gay marriage, which was pretty poggers, you know, separation church and state, baby. Yeah, okay. That's just a silly thing to use, though.
Guys, find out about the new viral phenomena, the gawk, the girl cock. This community of have decided to call their girl penises gawks, and it's going viral.
I'm okay with that. We'll look that up.
And what we need to do now is arrest every trans person. I just asked my trans friends who were chronically on Twitter, and
how would you spell that? Glock, the penis of a trans woman. Oh, is this real? Did he make this up and it went onto Wikipedia? Or did he find, I think Hasan saying this made somebody make a Wikipedia page about a girl cock. I don't know. It says it was edited on June 23rd, 2023. Did Hasan make the term gawk?
Gawk.
Okay. Incredible stuff. I love it. Did Hasan make a new word? Oh no, this was added in 2020. Oh, Hasan stole this joke. Hasan stole the joke, dude. Hasan stole the joke. It's not a Tamaga hat, bro. It's a make pee pee poo poo again hat. Damn. He's tried to co-opt that one.
Of them have heard of it, Lamau. I'm chronically online. I haven't heard of this either. According to their glossary, bonus holes an alternative for the word vagina, and recommend checking to see which words someone prefer to use. So, like, how is this news? Is the real question you got to ask yourself. Because here's what I mean. Do I think this is like something that is very important for the movement? You know, fuck no, I don't. No one is gonna be like, wow, you're not a real ally, Hasan, because you're not considering bonus hole. Like, this is some silly ass bullshit. If you are cis and heard of this, 99% chance you are falling down the Glinner rabbit hole. This is why I hate covering these kinds of idiotic fucking stories. Ultimately, I need to learn about bonus hole, and I don't want to ever learn about bonus hole. It's like, this isn't even Twitter shit. They are saying it's Twitter. It's worse than Twitter shit. You want to know why? They're faking and acting like it's Twitter shit when it's not even shit on Twitter. This is so stupid. On their website, Joe Cervical Cancer Trust using the correct language when you're talking about someone's gender identity is a simple and effective way to demonstrate support and recognition. It goes on to say that patients may seek care elsewhere if they feel hurt or distressed when a term is used that doesn't align with their gender identity. But bonus hole went viral today after conservatives like Leo Kearse and Oil London tweeted about it. Oh, that's why. Kearse is a right-wing...
I thought his name was Ollie London. But I mean, kind of based that he's saying it wrong on purpose, though. That's what I mean.
UK-based comedian, and London is a British media personality who's most well known for writing a book about his experience detransitioning and the issue of supposed trans ideology. Basically, he's a TERF. I like that Yahoo News, boomer-ass fucking Yahoo News, is more progressive than the Associated Press, who's like, we can't use TERFs anymore. Sky News Australia covered...
I'm trying to see the original article Hasan was looking at where it said, terrified swimming champion Riley Gaines is ambushed by screaming trans activists and hit twice by a guy in a dress after... I'm assuming that is a trans woman, then it's not actually a guy in a dress. After saving women's sports speech. College swimming champion Riley Gaines has filmed herself being ambushed by screaming trans fans and literally hit multiple times by a guy in a dress following a speech. So, okay. I mean, I don't know. Trans rights are human rights. I guess this is the video. Okay. Was that the whole video? What's happening? Okay.
It's just me. I'm good. I'm good.
I mean, if all they're doing is yelling trans rights or human rights, that doesn't matter to me. If they hit her, that's where it goes too far. But
I'm coming. I'm good. I'm good. Trust me, I'm good. Go ahead.
people are so annoying. Sorry. Like, I have no problem saying trans are human rights, but I mean, the yelling is just, it just annoys me. I don't know. I may not. It's okay. Jesus Christ. They barricaded her and demanded money? Did they? She should have started flossing to the song. They barricaded her?
You're dressed like a communist.
Whoa! She said you're dressed like a communist. Okay. I can't believe they censored the word cracker. It's fucked up. Okay. Needs a little more cowbell. That's what I'd say. Okay. What does barricaded mean? Like they followed her, or so she was in the hallway, or did they like hit her? I'm not seeing the hitting part. She alleges she was hit, but I don't know if that's confirmed. Okay, I mean, I just. Hey, poopy, beepy. Who's Riley Gaines? Oh wait! Oh wait a minute! Oh wait a minute! Wait a minute! Is Riley Gaines? I think I did a video about Riley Gaines. Hold on a second. Oh, sorry. Riley Gaines Papa Gut. Did I do a video? Is this the one that got her arm eaten by a shark? She was trapped there for hours? Oh, that's crazy. Well, that's concerning. All right, well, that's wrong. Okay. Riley Gaines' speech. I mean, I'm just trying to see, because this doesn't seem good.
Hi. My name is Riley Gaines. I'm a recent graduate from the University of Kentucky, where I was on the women's swim team. I proudly finished my career as a 12-time NCAA All-American, a 5-time SEC champion. I am one of the fastest 200 butterflyers of all time.
Cool.
But on March 17th of last year, my teammates and I and other female swimmers from universities around the country were forced to compete against a biological male named Leah Thomas. Thomas was allowed to compete in the women's division after competing as a member of the University of Pennsylvania's men's swim team for 3 years. We watched on the side of the pool as Thomas won a national title in the 500-yard freestyle, beating out the most impressive and accomplished female athletes in the country, including Olympians and American record holders. Whereas just the year before, Thomas at best was ranking in the 400s in the men's category. The next day, Thomas and I raced in the 200 freestyle, which ended up in a tie. We went the exact.
Oh yeah, I mean, based on the story, everything that we're seeing about it, this woman is in the wrong. I mean, excuse me. Sorry, no, I'm fucking she's in the right. Sorry. She's in the right. She has every right to be upset. And 100%. Them apparently cornering her and locking her in a classroom for however many hours is wrong. And Anna's tweet about it is 100% correct. And unfortunately, like, trans women do have a biological advantage against cisgender women, especially ones that went through a male puberty. And I understand why a lot of female athletes, like cisgender athletes, cisgender women athletes, would be upset about this. They have every right to be upset about it. And her not being able to speak her mind, even if you think she's wrong, without being harassed, is ridiculous. So, like, and I think, yeah, she's right. She's in the right. Okay.
Read this before you. UK charity group suggests Bodazole as a more inclusive term for vagina. 3 days ago, 9,000.
It is interesting that Hasan's like refusing to engage with the specific story and just kind of going off onto this. But like, I agree. If that's what Anna Kasparian was talking about, I agree with her. Like, yeah, okay, sure, cool beans. You know, that's also, I like the beans. They're pretty cool. So.
Bro, this shit didn't even hit like the transphobia sphere. That's the point, because it's so stupid. It's so fucking stupid. It's so dumb. Now it's more relevant because Anna took the fucking bait on some random shit from some random fucking website that was like, oh, maybe we can call, you know, non-binary pussies bonus holes or something. And then,
well, it seems like you're the one that's hyper focusing on one little point that she had said. I mean, the bonus hole thing sounds dumb as shit to me too, but like I feel like that's not the primary story.
All of a sudden, now it's like an issue that everybody needs to fucking discuss. Why? The world is a massive place. There are always things that are happening that are idiotic, things that are happening that are silly, things that are happening that are stupid. Oftentimes, you have to make that assessment. You have to look at it and go, how many people are actually using this? How many people are actually using this terminology? Are they using it just on their own, in their own circle?
To be absolutely honest with you, when we talk about this bonus hole discourse, and don't clip this, please, but armpit. That's the bonus hole. I mean, listen, you're probably sitting here saying, why would you say that? Because, I mean, I'm tired of pretending. Armpits are kind of, hey, there's nothing wrong with a nice armpit. And I know that there are so many young men out there that are like, you know what, Papa, I agree with that. Fuck the tits and the ass. Give me a nice armpit. Please don't clip that, okay? Give me a nice armpit, bro. You know what I'm saying, doggy? Ain't no thing but a chicken wing. So, that's my point.
Or are they actually saying other people need to use this as well? And if it doesn't hit those metrics at all, if it doesn't hit any of those markers, then why the fuck is this existing in your mind? Like, you know, remember formative memories and don't fucking put bonus hole in your mind. It's so stupid. This reminds me of how trans memers started using transing as a joke and then conservatives now use it seriously. Yeah, Anna, Joe Rogan, and Bill Maher fall for every fucking chain email story, I swear. Yeah, it's just so stupid. It's so fucking stupid. It's so dumb. It is such a dumb thing to be upset about. And the only reason why I believe you get this kind of shit on your feed, and the only reason why you would take this seriously, is if that kind of transphobic sentiment is starting to take root in your mind. I have disagreements with extremely online activists.
Is this actually like the main story, or is this the B story? Not to be confused with the B movie, but it seems like this is like the B plot of the movie that we're hyper focusing on, right? Like, it seems like the main thing was the conversation about how people, like, trapped this girl, Riley Gaines, I think her name was, and, like, harassed her and bullied her, and because she talked about how she is being displaced as an athlete, a cisgender female athlete, who's been working really hard by somebody who didn't have to work as hard. And that's just a fact. I mean, and I mean, no, like, you know, God bless Leah Thomas. They're just trying to live their best life, and I respect that. But like at the end of the day, you know, we're talking about there's some, like, she didn't have to try as hard as the cisgendered women, and that's just a fact, you know, and they're upset about it. And like, I understand, I get it, and they have every right to be, and you should be bullied or harassed for that disagreement. So.
All the fucking time. That's part of the reason why there is a gigantic group of people on Twitter, regardless of what their political background is, that says stuff like, I hate Hasan, I want to go to his house and fucking murder Hasan. And then I'll look at their profile and they're like a neurodivergent minor trans person, and I'm like, dude, what the fuck happened? Like, what do you mean? You want to...
Why are you on Twitter, like, looking at, like, why are you so invested in what people are saying about you to that degree on Twitter? What the fuck? Okay.
Come to my... Almost always Germa fans, dude. They fucking hate me for some reason. I don't know why.
I like Germa now.
I love Germa.
I mean, I love Germa. Sorry, I've always had.
Because they see shit clipped out of context and they fucking lose their mind over it, or it's like petty squabbles and minor disagreements that they hyper fixate on.
Well, are we talking about the time that you a trans person disagree with you and you fucking told them that you hope that they're like a life is hell or whatever? Which to me was alluding to you hope their like gender dysphoria is even worse and fucks them up or something. It was just a weird thing to say. You know, it's funny because that moment was like, oh, like, listen, don't touch my thing. There's times where we all aren't right and we think that we're right or whatever, but that was fucking crazy. Like, I don't know how many L's Hasan has admitted to taking, either. But then again, I'm never wrong. I can respect somebody who never thinks they're wrong, though. It's better than people who constantly shift their perspective like in 1 second. So.
Who gives a fuck? Ultimately, stay the course. If you truly do care about advancing, I don't know, if you truly do care about advancing trans causes or just ensuring that trans people are not getting absolutely eviscerated in out of public life, then don't talk about bonus hole, please. This is just bait. created to make like some random fucking transphobic British person Substack pop off. It's so dumb.
I don't know what that means.
Hole. I love that. God, what's next? Honest question. What do you think the impact of comments like yours? Do you think this group you refer to, assuming they're real, are now going to stop? The reason why the right turns these anecdotes...
Is this whole video just about the bonus holes?
National stories specifically demonize the entire movement. Assuming they are real, I just linked to it. The right turns these anecdotes to national stories because they know it will turn people off. My argument is a little bit more strategic and tactful to secure healthcare and housing for the trans community. That's my point. Well said, Anna. So I get having disagreements on optics with trans people.
Well, it just sounds like she's saying, hey, let's focus more on things that matter instead of things that don't matter, that are just distracting us from the truth. Okay, and yeah, just because Ollie London says something and agrees with her doesn't mean that she's a bad person, even though Ollie's a fucking moron. That's a fact, by the way. Not even an opinion, it's a fact. It's objective.
On
my head.
Issues. And I get feeling frustrated that you can't even get your points across without people immediately, you know, saying you're transphobic. Here's the thing. Here's the reality. Ultimately, you can have like an optics conversation without jumping on the silliest things, the silliest stories possible that are exclusively turned into national news stories to demonize trans people. Everybody
again though, but this one wasn't. I just don't think that was one of them. This seems like you haven't even engaged with the story. You just kind of said, this is stupid, I don't like the way it looks, and then didn't even look into it. Kind of a big, kind of a large L on that one there, Hasan. I wonder if it's intentional. Like Hasan intentionally didn't read it because he knew it was going to make him his perspective look wrong, or if he was just being lazy about it and just assuming that it was like another like bullshit conservative like pearl clutch, or he, you know, because I mean I get that. I understand people can, you bastard bitch. I understand that. Sorry, it's a game. I understand that sometimes people get trapped, and you'll look at a particular group and go like, they're dumb as shit, so I'm not going to believe anything that they say. I guess I kind of get it, but at the same time, like you probably want to do at least a little looking into that. So
understands. Every fucking trans person understands, for the most part, that this shit is like stupid. Most trans people look at this and go, here we go again. When you end up making it seem like this is emblematic of the entire trans movement, well, then you're basically helping out the transphobic people. It's kind of like, what's that lady? There's like that fucking psychotic trans woman, what was it, Yaniv or whatever, who was like a pedophile or something. I don't want to fuck this story up, but it always, like, back in the day, there was like one trans person that like the right wingers loved pointing to be like, to point to be like,
we don't know that happened. I'm not talking about her getting hit. That part, I don't know if that happened. It doesn't matter. Necessarily. The part that matters is that she came up on stage, talked about how she was robbed of her title, basically, by somebody, and that she was like a bunch of people were harassing her and barricading her in, and not like it seemed like she wasn't able to leave if she was in there for that long of a time, right? That's more of what I'm talking about. I don't believe the trapping is alleged. Is the trapping alleged? Or is that like what actually happened? Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe it was just an alleged trapping and it didn't actually happen.
Zed King super chatted $5. Okay. Can you watch the video I posted in Discord about Hasan? It's 5 minutes.
Maybe. Remind me again after, but don't donate again. This segment's a bit long. So.
Look, like this person is a pedophile. Like this is how every trans person is. That's just a criminal, okay? That's like individually a criminal person. You don't ever do that with a white woman, or you don't ever do that with a white man. You don't ever do that with a cis man. You know what I mean? You don't ever go, well, you know, all white men are engaging in tax evasion.
Well, Hasan, what are you talking about? He's laughing because he knows he's fucking wrong. Every day people are talking about how all white men are bad because some white men are bad. That's literally happening every single day. You're full of shit. You know it. I think he knows he's wrong too, because this happens every day. That's literally, you do it. That's all, or like the all men in general, like the whole all men thing. Like, that's what are you talking about? This happens all the time. What are you talking about? Listen, I would never, you know, if I die and I have to re-up for a skin color, I'm choosing white again. But there are some times, like on the internet, where white people are like villainized in some capacity. It's true.
Or, well, this white guy, this cishet white guy hit my car and then drove away, which means all white men do this all the time. Like, I can't even make a good analogy to this because it's virtually impossible
this happens
to see
every day.
The dominant in-group in the similar way that you would a marginalized community. To be clear, since apparently this has to be spelled out, literally no one is saying that the word, they can't even write the article correct. They said the world bonus hole is mandatory for anyone to use, be they cis, trans, or non-binary. It's simply a suggestion presented for trans men and non-binary people, and presumably anyone who prefers it can use. Folks, this is not hard to grasp. Offering alternative terms to people who are seeking medical treatment is an easy way to be respectful of the gender dysphoria some trans men and non-binary folks might be experiencing. Whether or not you use bonus hole or not should be a personal choice. Sadly, some online just can't or won't understand nuance. And for the TERFs who see this as some sort of vernacular takeover, in the words of Taylor Swift, you need to calm down. All wraps back to Taylor, baby. Yeah, I don't know, man. Why the fuck is this a story? And we can't control what all activists are going to say and do. They're always going to exist, and there's always going to be some weird ones. As people with platforms, we have to be mindful of what our focus is and how that may impact people who are watching. You cannot be serious with this argument. Why are you giving into the rhetoric of we can't defend things that some people view as unpopular? When you and Jenk used to rail against that thinking, you can just admit that you're laundering transphobia with you talking like this. She's a public news figure. Like if a CNN anchor did this shit, we would be all over it. Yeah, a CNN anchor does have a significant amount more prominence than I think Anna Kasparian. I'm not Anna. What? I'm not Jenk. I can't speak on how they feel, but my assumption is that they've been getting shit on.
The police confirmed the trapping? Oh, okay. It just sounds like Hasan is rambling about something that's kind of irrelevant to this topic and trying to make it seem like it's nothing. He just seems to be like, I don't know if he's lying or laziness.
By the right for years and years and years and years. And the reason why they've been getting shit on by the right for years is not valid reasons. It's literally because they have been fighting against transphobia, anti-science rhetoric, fighting against racism, refusing to back away from police brutality.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure the science shows us that trans women that went through male puberty do have a biological advantage. So, I mean, there are absolutely aspects where conservatives are like not maintaining with the science and whatnot. I get that. I'm just saying that, you know, that you're missing the point. It seems like intentionally.
They've been doing that for a long time. And I think, pure speculation, I think that they get very frustrated, especially when they want to have like an optics conversation on how to present your best foot forward or whatever in activist circles. And I think they want everybody.
But you do too. You were just getting upset about the optics of it before, because remember, like he was talking, like I was joking about the Harry Potter thing, but remember the Harry Potter situation? Like he was telling, he was like, I'm gonna play Harry Potter. You don't, on Twitch. I understand this field and sphere better. You have to understand the optics of the situation. I'm gonna like he was saying he wanted to play Harry Potter so he could raise money for trans people, like whatever. And then people were shitting on him, and he was like, you guys just basically don't understand the optics. I'm trying to play it so I can make money for trans people, and you don't understand the optics of what I'm doing. So like you also do the same thing.
To just like shut up and agree with them. And I get that because I also feel that way sometimes.
Okay,
when I'm just like,
I guess he's agreeing.
And I've been getting fucking death threats since like 2014. Basically. I'm not a transphobic person. I'm not a racist person. Sometimes when I'm talking about optics,
I thought he was making the point that he doesn't do optics as well, but he does. So I guess I was just wrong about that. Okay.
So when I'm talking,
I mean, I was right about what I said, but I thought he was implying he doesn't care about optics, but he does.
About activism or how to put your best foot forward, and I'm speaking over marginalized communities, and I'm speaking against. It comes across like I'm speaking against marginalized communities. I'm doing that because I feel like I do know better on how to present your movement to a broader audience.
Oh well, then you agree with Anna then that she's just doing this thing that you think that you're doing. You know, and maybe you're right, but you know, I don't about doing it the right way in that capacity. But okay, whatever.
This does not mean that I'm a transphobic person. This does not mean that I'm a racist person. The difference between me and
that means that Anna isn't either.
And this particular instance with like Anna, however, is that I'm not gonna look to like a random, otherwise innocuous, silly fucking news story that is the type of news story that the right would absolutely latch on, to fucking create this this massive issue and highlight it. Some of those people in the orgs don't relay the point well. I agree. Coming from you and how you present it makes it easily understandable. Yeah, except those people are trying to do the right thing, and also those people are overall irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. You know what I mean? It's dumb to hyper focus on this shit. Does that make sense? Why I don't cover it? I think it's fucking stupid to cover something like bonus hole. It's kind of like...
Right, but again, I'm pretty sure that wasn't the primary discussion, wasn't the bonus hole discussion. It was about... okay, whatever. I've said like 100 times.
An example that's even...
I mean, Hasan is just like lost in the sauce. He has like a good argument that has a foundation of dog shit. So like now he's like on a roll. He thinks that he's right, and if he was right, it would be a great argument, but like he's just wrong about the basis of the argument. He thinks the primary thing was about the word bonus hole, but it seems like that was just kind of like a one-off random thing that was said. Whereas most of this is about like the girl getting attacked, and he's just not referencing it. I'm just going to assume that he's not doing it maliciously. He's just doing it like lazily.
Broader example, right? Neo-pronouns. I don't fucking understand it, and I don't want to, and I don't care, and I'm never going to fucking talk about it. Obviously, there are plenty of fucking debate perverts who are regularly in here who are like, Hasan, give me your thoughts on neo-pronouns. Give me your thoughts on neo-pronouns. Give me your thoughts on fucking neo-pronouns. And it's like, nope. Not gonna do that. Don't care. Not happening. And in a lot of instances, it comes across real fucking cringe, except for all the times you've talked about it. No, I haven't talked about it that much, and it's not really a thing that I talk about at all. It's pointless. It's pointless to talk about this shit. You get it? It's like getting mad at some fucking 14-year-old on Twitter who's using neo-pronouns now. You know what I mean? And the neo-pronouns are like dear or something. And now you're like, whoa, what's happening to society? It's like, dude, calm the fuck down. Calm down. It's not like a significant thing. There's no like,
Jesus
government
Christ.
mandate. Shut the fuck up. If you were to look at the neo-pronouns discourse, you know who uses neo-pronouns more than like actual trans people? Fucking right-wingers who are always like, my pronouns are suck my ass. It's literally fucking right-wingers that use neo-pronouns more than like the actual fucking trans people. Shut up.
Dude,
Shut
I
up.
swear
Don't
to
talk.
God, is this fucking audio getting louder and louder? Or am I just like an idiot? Because that's what it sounds like is happening right now. Is it happening or am I wrong?
Talk about it. It's just so stupid. Some deleted tweets from
Am I the
Universe.
best
Yeah,
healer?
I showed some of this already. I don't give a shit how many viewers turn on me. I will never minimize any political violence of any kind. It's what losers do when they can't strategize and win an argument. You're fucking brain dead. Don't gaslight me to say that barricading someone in a fucking classroom for 3 fucking hours is non-violent. The speaker had nothing to do with the KKK. Disgusting. Barricading speakers is not violent. You are genuinely stupid if you cannot see how insane it is. You're comparing trans people to defending ourselves to groups like the KKK.
Well, I mean, barricading people into something, I think, could be considered an act of violence. What are you talking about? What?
This violent.
Your brain. Okay. Barricading speakers is not violent. You are genuinely stupid if you cannot see how insane it is that you're comparing trans people defending. What? You're fucking brain dead. Don't gaslight me to say that barricading is a fucking classroom for 3 fucking hours is non-violent. It is violent. Listen, here's the thing. At the end of the day, and this is something that like a content creator needs to understand. Texting never helps. Texting doesn't work. Texting is stupid. Stop texting. The reality is that you're never going to be able to get through to people in a wall of text. It's never going to happen. There's tons of just context missing. You can't be fully contextually accurate. You can't properly parse through information. You can't be organized. You can't be intelligent. It's non-constructive. When people give me criticism in comments, I almost never will engage with it because there's no way to engage with it. There's no way to do it. It's ineffective. And unless you think it's worth making an entire video about, you know, and there's times people will say dumb points that I've already addressed. They're just not watching the full video because they're stupid. And, like, they have no interest in actually engaging. They're just looking to be like, well, what if? And just be dumb as fuck, you know. But like you just have to not. That's what's happening to Anna here. So Jesus Christ, the CC's fucking bananas. I mean, I think that's probably the biggest issue there. But.
You are genuinely stupid if you cannot see how insane it is. You're comparing trans people to defending ourselves to groups like the KKK. The civil rights movement did not use the same strategies of the trans movement. They didn't barricade speakers they disagreed with in a classroom for 3 hours. They persuaded through nonviolence to showing America their humanity.
Oh,
I think
with all that context there, Anna's fucking right and based. What are you talking about? She's 100% right. What are you talking about?
People feel like everyone has to immediately respect their positions, especially when they're talking about like optics or putting your best foot forward.
This is an optics thing. This is just insanity to lock somebody in a fucking closet or whatever, or classroom.
Have done this many times. This, however, does not change my perspective, and I also don't cover that endlessly in the same vein as.
I get why you wouldn't cover that, because like you could say, hey, I don't feel like it's constructive to cover this situation because I don't think this is indicative of all trans people. I think that's fine if you want to do that. But like, what are you criticizing Anna for? Like, because this is wrong. Maybe she just feels bad for the person, and she's like, this is really shitty. You shouldn't be doing this behavior. Like, okay, she's right.
Like, I don't talk about fucking neo-pronouns. There are always going to be certain things that you don't agree with.
I mean, locking someone in the classroom isn't the same thing as fucking neo-pronouns. So.
Broader movement. You have the capacity as an ally, even though I fucking hate that term, right? To look at something like that and go, oh yeah, this is fucking bullshit. Like,
yeah, that's what she's doing. But she's doing that just not in the way you want it. You want her to be like, oh, this is bullshit. I'm just not going to talk about it. But she is saying, hey, this is fucking bullshit. And then she is saying like, oh, this is wrong. You shouldn't be doing this. Like, yes. So.
I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. I don't give a fuck. The hundreds of pieces of legislation that's passing at the state legislature level, or the temper tantrums that fucking right-wingers throw when like a trans person does like a 30-second spot for Bud Light, and it turns this into like a national trans panic, as though Bud Light is like personally transing.
All Hasan has to say is like, hey, you know, this was wrong. They shouldn't be doing that. And I'd be like, okay, cool. Dude, I'm fucking CC'd through my fucking balls. That's all he'd have to say is like, yeah, Hannah's not wrong. I just think it's an overreaction. I guess that would be fine. But he's not even condemning the action of like barricading somebody in the room because of a disagreement in freedom of speech.
You with a gun in your own home. All of that stuff is significantly more important. And I think if we're going to talk about trans issues, instead of talking about like ridiculous, random people saying...
this isn't really ridiculous or random. This is a conversation a lot of people are having about trans women in sports, and it's like a very important conversation to engage in, and we have to do it intelligently and with some nuance. So,
bonus hole, I choose to cover those things. And the reason why I choose to cover those things is because those things are actually important. You intentionally misunderstood what I said, you moron. Lol. No, I didn't. You said barricading people you disagree with is nonviolent. If an alt-right group did that to a trans speaker, I'm sure you change your tune. You're dishonest, childish, and batshit crazy. Not sure if you know.
Yeah, true.
Notice, but states currently using violence against trans people. Curious as to see why.
Yeah. Okay. So her point is that like you would disagree, you would agree with me if it was a different group doing the same behavior. So she wasn't actually comparing it, but this is why she shouldn't have gotten locked into this conversation with this person. It's gonna make her like look really like it's just not the right way to act. It's never gonna be constructive, you know. But
you seem to care about the grifter who terrorizes trans people than trans people who are being affected by this legislation and violence. You don't watch the show, so you have no idea what I talk about or how often.
I feel like they do talk about that stuff on the show. What are you talking about?
When I defend the trans community, I think the fringe shit and activists like you turn the country against people. You're just too stupid to see it. So offering a blanket, you barricaded this person, you're engaging in political violence in a situation like this, and I don't even know what this fucking situation is.
So then just look at you were on the article, Hasan. You could have just read it. You could have just read the article. What are you talking about? Or you do what I do, and I ask my chat, hey, what did you read? No, but you could have read it. You don't know what's going on. You did something, but like, then don't talk about it. That's so silly. That's so silly to me. You don't even know what's going on here, so don't talk about it. I don't understand. This doesn't make any sense. Why talk about it? I don't even know what's going on here. That you have to know what's going on here to talk about. What are you talking about?
Offering that blanket is basically centrism. The same kind of.
Oh, bro, Hasan. Like, I want to come into this video. Bro, I'm really trying. I'm like, in this video, I'm like, okay, you know what? This happens all the time. I'm like, let's give Hasan like a fair shake. Let me just chill a little bit. Let me listen. Let me engage. Let me be like, no. And he just does some dumb shit. And we mean centrism. This isn't centrism. This is what I'm talking about. These dumb, fucking worthless people will call everything centrism. And what they're saying is that you're just fence sitting. And you're dumb. That's all it is. It's just like, it's an attempt to just be like, to besmirch you. That's all it is. It's some childish baby brain fucking unintelligent shit. Oh my god, it's so fucking oh fuck, I didn't mean to go the other way. It's so annoying. It's just so obnoxious, dude. Oh my god. I'm not gonna read any of the context of what's happening, but it sounds like centrism to me. Oh, okay. Crazy.
A neck-bearded centrism that TYT has been attacked by for years and years and years, which is why it's so odd to see. It's why it's so fucking odd to see this coming from victims of those.
You want to know why Hasan's so popular? Because he'll virtue signal to his audience regardless. He knows what he needs to stay on their side, and he will try to never give a disagreeable take to his audience. That's why. Like that's what he's incapable of he's incapable. He's capable of it, but he won't do it. He won't sit down and think for like 5 seconds like what the fuck is going on. He just will virtue signal his audience because it's safe and it's easy and he knows what he shouldn't say to maintain his audience, and every time he gets criticism he just goes, okay, how can I better pander to my audience, like virtue signal to them. That's all it really boils down to. Like, hate me if you fucking want, but I disagree with my audience constantly on things, and I'm just like, that's what it is. I condition my audience to understand that like I'm going to disagree with you or you're going to disagree with me, and I'm not going to change my mind just because you think I'm wrong. And I that's all it really boils down to. That's it. But, you know, this is what happens from Hasan. He just knows what his audience wants to hear, and this is pretty much all. Oh, I just fucking ulted a fucking murky. Oh, I'm going to shit my fucking pants. I'm an idiot. Jesus.
Supposedly centrist commentators. Ultimately, the reason why Anna has responded that way is because she does cover state legislatures doing anti-trans legislation. I mean, here, let's look at it. This is the reason why Anna says, you don't know what I cover. Here's why. Republican censure first trans woman elected in Montana, Zoe Zephyr. Inspiring Nebraska state senator shows Democrats how to fight. Tennessee passes law that bans drag shows and gender-affirming care. Do you guys think that in any of these videos, TYT is taking an anti-trans perspective? No, of course not. The only issue where there is a disagreement, I know this, is trans people in sports, okay? They feel as though, and I can't speak on their every single person that works there, but I do think that in certain circumstances, there is definitely There is definitely that little bit of transphobia that's like baked into the conversation, where instead of going, I don't give a fuck if like a 14-year-old trans girl is actually participating in high school sports, which like normalizes her existence a lot better, and also on top of that like allows them to have a level of gender affirmation. And I think overall this like hyper focus on said 14-year-old in like different states and like literally crafting state legislation to dunk on that 14-year-old is actually fucking stupid.
Yeah, so let me hear.
That's my perspective on it, and that it is completely crafted by psychopathic right-wingers and originally focus tested by like right-wing insane zealots that have lobbying groups and whatnot. Insane right-wing lobbying groups focus test what method of attack is the most successful against trans people. They find out that it's fairness in sports, just like affirmative action is fairness in getting. Yeah,
right. So that's not. So here's the thing. This is one of those things where like a broken clock is right twice a day, right? That's how conservatives are when it comes to trans people in sports. They don't know why they're right. They just don't like trans people, right? My perspective, like that's what it really boils down to. Like if there are people like who's like, oh, trans people aren't valid and then they're just crazy and blah blah blah. You're transphobic and like anything like obviously every way that you feel is going to be filtered through transphobia. That's just a fact. I'm sorry, but however, there is a reasonable argument that people who are reasonable and try to reasonably engage with things are talking about, and that is that it will displace cisgendered women if we allow trans women into sports. It's just going to happen. And you see it with the Leah Thomas situation, right? That's what people are worried about. Sports aren't, like, I have no problem with kids in, like, sports, like trans kids in sports. Who cares? Until it becomes a competitive thing where it starts getting, why did that kid come here? Where it starts getting to the point where it's going to have scholarships attached to them. And then there's a different conversation. Because like we saw, Leah Thomas, whatever, didn't have to try as hard as any of the cis women there to be more successful. When she identified as a man, she was in like what, the top 400, and that's the issue, right? And in high school, and I don't know when competitive high school sports begins, but I imagine that it's in at least 16. Because that's when scouts are coming to high schools and stuff. So I get it. So in like a professional setting, I understand. You know? I get it. So yeah.
Into school, like Americans want to believe in fairness, they want to believe in meritocracy, and that doesn't exist in the real world, but it doesn't matter. They still want to believe in it. So you do market research and figure out that if you slap on the fucking unfair sticker onto an issue, you can get a lot more people to come to your side. So they do that, and that's why TYT thinks like it's an irrelevant issue in the grand scheme of things. But that doesn't overall mean that they're like.
True, I'm on my transphobic arc, baby. I think trans women are women and trans men are men, but we have to have a But when it comes to sports and dating, we need to be a little more nuanced about it, because not everybody wants to date a trans person, and obviously, unfortunately, the reality is that trans women that go through a male puberty will displace cisgender women. Even if there's only like 1% of the women in sports that start trans, they will rise to the top and they will displace the cisgender women.
Transphobic, or that they are going to stop covering anti-trans legislatures. They are covering it, right? So for that reason, I think Anna thinks like, no, I am covering this shit, except I have a disagreement here with barricading people you disagree with being nonviolent. Yes, it does mean that they're transphobic. Yeah, it does, except every single person in the United States of America is transphobic to a certain degree. Do you want me to go back to the same conversation over and over again? Like, if you are a trans person, I don't know if you are or not, you probably know that already. It's the default position. America is transphobic. You know that is the case. There are plenty of trans people who were transphobic originally. They had internalized transphobia even. You know what I mean? Yeah, so you know that already. So because of that reason, you just have to like parse through just any kind of discourse, because there is like a sea of transphobic shit, and you have to basically pick your battles in that regard. It still doesn't matter. It still should not happen to it should not come from like an otherwise progressive institution. I don't agree with that.
Why? Is he saying that like progressives shouldn't call this out because it could make why? That's so stupid to me. Why? Like, it seems like Anna's position is like, yo, I want to fight for trans people, and then you make it hard. Like, people make it hard to do when you're committing political violence onto somebody else. Wow, what a terrible point.
A lot of these things that come out about trans people and what they're doing and what they care about is all in the same vein of like just creating just awful discourse around trans people. Just trying to fucking throw shit as best as possible. Be like, trans people are cringe, trans people are violent, trans people are pedophiles, trans people are fucking trying to, you know, groom you.
That's not what she's saying at all. She's saying that this is just not a good thing. She's not saying this is all trans people. What are you talking about?
Children. There is a wide spectrum of anti-trans sentiment, all of which plays the same role, which is when you think about trans people, if you ever consider like a trans person,
the whole perspective, Hasan's entire perspective is never talk about things that make trans people look bad, even if some trans people are doing something that is bad. That's what it comes down to. And he'll never be wrong to his audience, because like all he has to say is like, well, calling out this very reasonable call out of people doing something bad that makes trans people look bad. Don't talk about it though, because because then people might feel more transphobic. Like there's nothing here. It's always just going to be any reasonable criticism leveraged against a particular person is wrong. Like why? It's just stupid. It's unproductive. It's obviously not going to help. It sounds fine that she criticized it. So like, hey, this is not a good thing. This doesn't help the movement. Like she's right, by the way. Like Anna's 100% right. That's what I'm talking about. Like this is how like progressivism is toxic sometimes. It's like it's a fucking dude. It's it's a fucking religion, bro. Progressive like fucking progressivism is. And by the way, like I'm talking about it's a religion because it's the same thing as the way that like religious texts are written, where it's like if you believe us, if you follow what we say, you will have eternal happiness. And if you disagree with us, you'll have eternal like hell, damnation. You will like, you know, it'll terrible. You don't learn why what you believe is right or why what you believe is wrong. You just attach yourself to a particular ideology. And that's what's happening here. Like Hasan can't even fathom why like people are criticizing trans women in sports. Because he doesn't engage critically in it. He just agrees with it. And you should agree with it, but you don't know why. They're not necessarily wrong, they just don't know why they're right. So it comes down to. It's just the same fucking like annoying shit every single time. Oh fuck. Trying to heal this guy. There we go.
You want to think that they're somehow bad, or you want to think that they're somehow toxic. Okay, you want others to think that they're somehow toxic. That's what transphobic people do in many ways. Okay. This is why I say transphobia is a mental illness. By the way, trans people didn't barricade anyone. That transphobic fifth place loser swimmer barricaded herself because she didn't want to deal with the protesters yelling at her. It's a total lie that anyone barricaded her but herself. Yeah. And in most circumstances, the story in and of itself.
I mean, there was like looked like at least 20 to 40 people like yelling at her. I don't think it's unreasonable to say that they barricaded her. But okay. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Okay.
Is also different than the way people cover it. Different than the way transphobic people weaponize it, right? There's always some like some minutia that they utilize or that they weaponize against trans people. First-hand context, sure. I work at SFSU. The whole Riley Gaines drama was a publicity stunt bullshit. They came back to campus for more drama but got ignored. They're not victims in the slightest. Red meat for chuds, and it's as inane.
Now it's a conspiracy. They just went there as a conspiracy. Okay, cool.
This bonus hole, exactly. Thank you. That is what I'm trying to say.
I think that's what I'm trying to say.
Hyper-focusing on that and turning it into a larger issue, like the trans people are doing political violence to their enemies, is transphobic. You're creating more transphobic takes. You're giving more room for people to legitimize these otherwise really stupid stories. And I know TYT, and I know their coverage on issues like this in the past, and this is definitely different than the way that they've covered it. Ultimately, this discourse continues in the way that it is because you can just. You know, you just think it's like disposable. You know what I mean? Okay. You just think that the issues and the people are somewhat disposable, so you don't care about like what kind of negative sentiment it's presenting. At a certain point, it moves beyond like I'm trying to have a conversation about optics, about the optics of like activism, and moves into I'm dunking on trans activists on the timeline regularly, while also hyper focusing on some of the silliest points of contention that aren't even real.
This seems like a real point of contention, but okay.
Issues at all, because ultimately, if you care about practicality, if you care about praxis, if you care about like ensuring that the trans community puts their best foot forward, like all these activists put their best foot forward, right? And it's not like a genuine disagreement with like most trans issues, then you wouldn't be consistently talking about this, because lighting a fire under this over and over again as like right-wingers celebrate all this shit that you're saying, it makes the discourse way worse. It's just yet another rendition of like trans people are cringe and stupid and annoying, and that's why it's kind of valid for us to ensure that they are not playing in sports in any way.
What the fuck are you talking about, Hasan? That's not at all. What are you saying? That's not at all what any of the discourse is ever about. What are you talking about? Just making things up.
And that like maybe there's going to be some drag bans, but we can turn the other cheek towards that. Even when Anna and Jank have consistently defended against those systemic forms of oppression, especially when it comes to legislation.
Sometimes I'm a little scared or like I'm afraid of like talking to people who are outside of my race.
So interesting that like he's trying to phrase them being reasonable as being bad. It's fucking obnoxious. What the hell is this kid doing? Is this a fake one? Okay.
Because I don't know if I'm going to unintentionally step in it, right?
Yeah.
Like there's, and I hate that. Right. Like there's this like, because like if all of the message is toward me and people who, you know, I'm Armenian, but still they call me white passing. So, you know, just got to go with that, right? If people who look like me are constantly told, you are inherently racist. Okay. You are inherently a bad person.
Uh-oh, guys. My face one, we care about mental health until it affects somebody we don't like. Dude, there's a reality here, whether you like white people or not. Like, yeah, it's annoying, and some people take it like get upset when they're constantly called like fucking white devils for doing nothing. Like, some people get upset by that. Like, God forbid. Oh, guys, we need to value mental health until it's people that are getting white people are getting hatred. Then we don't need to value it. That's what's happening. Like, yeah, I don't care. Because I'm invincible. I know, but like people get upset when they're getting called like white devils every day, even all they do is wake up and go to work and come home and they're being called you're wrong, you're white, you're bad, you're a bad person, we can't be racist to you, just justify being hateful towards you. It's a real thing. Like people get upset by it. Like oh no, not people having feelings. Ugh! Disgusting, fucking disgusting. We're gonna lose this one.
I mean, if that's the start, and I had this debate with Jank when it came to our rhetoric in regard to the other side, right? If the starting off point is you are trash and we think you're evil,
yeah,
then
totally.
how does that? You're never going to move in a better direction. You're not going to move the country in a better direction. You're not going to improve race relations. You're going to make it worse.
Yeah,
and that is what I see happening. I think
the way to think about this is all lib shit, dude. This is literally liberalism in action.
Okay.
Here's why. It stems from like people having honest disagreements or debates or worse, Twitter spats, and what that does to systemic forms of oppression. It does nothing. Every single random fucking account on Twitter could say all white people are evil and deserve to suck shit.
But that's what Hasan says, right? So we like it is he says that. Right, this is like he's saying he's a privileged person that never had to work hard for anything in his life. He was saying that earlier, right? Hasan will constantly bring up the point that you can't be racist to white people, call it, say cracker, all this other stuff, like, and try to get a rise out of people and pretend that that's activism, even though that completely ruins like any actual like constructive conversation that could ever be had. It's a virtue signal to make it seem like you're a good person and that you're correct about things. That's all it comes down to. That's what he does all the time. And then he's like, oh, it's just some random Twitter guy. It's not. It's you. You are one of the people who do that, and it makes people tune out of the message. That's just the reality of the situation. What are you talking about? But okay. You're right, Hasan. No, it's just a Twitter guy. Yeah, just the Hasan Piker on Twitter is all it is. It's just Hasan Piker on Twitter.
And that doesn't move the needle at all. Here, let me explain to you in a way that, like, I know Anna and everyone else at TYT has experienced through the Gamergate era. This discourse that Anna is engaging.
Dude, I keep hearing him say Gamergate. It's almost like all he has to say is the term Gamergate. And all of a sudden, like, oh, that's my argument is because apparently I don't really know about Gamergate was just apparently, and I don't really know 100%. I wasn't there before it, but it was just a bunch of people crying because women wanted more representation in gaming. And Hasan has turned that into like, all I have to say is Gamergate and compare it to Gamergate, and boom, everyone's overreacting. I don't have to engage with any of the arguments.
In right now is identical to the men are trash discourse. Gamergaters loved latching on to like all men are trash as like the absolute worst, most unimaginable thing that someone could fucking say. And at the time, TYT would look at that accurately and go, who gives a fuck? Who cares? It's just like some person saying some dumb shit. It doesn't mean anything. It's completely meaningless. The idea like all white people are inherently evil is not a serious thing that people believe. It's not. Some people might believe it, but who gives a fuck? And ultimately, white people still run society. You know what I mean? Who cares if some random fucking Twitter user is like, oh man, white people are inherently evil. Like it's not. You as a white person still have that privilege. You as a white person can still completely fucking, override all of that shit. It's just hurt people who are just trying to fucking, be as exaggerated as possible in the way that they cover shit. It's hyperbole. I mean, it's all in the same vein. I think what Anna is saying in all of these, in all these clips that are popping on Twitter, it's all in the same vein of like hyper focusing on random gripes and turning it into like major points of contention, which is what right wingers do usually. You know what I mean?
What you're saying is that she's intentionally hyper focusing on random gripes just to fucking to be transphobic. What are you talking about? Are you saying she's doing intentionally, unintentionally? This is just so stupid. This whole thing is so stupid, bro. Holy shit.
And they do it very successfully. So
Okay.
if you are a progressive commentator, as they are, and as they have been, and they've been victims of this already many, many times. Like, I don't know why you eat the bait. They are not. You can say they're not, but like, I worked there. They were. You know what I mean? They have been shit on by the very same people who are now hyping up these sentiments. They've been shit on in the same exact way, as a matter of fact, that like TYT thinks all white people are evil. Like, it's like, no one fucking thinks that. It's an idiotic fucking take, okay? They say that about me all the goddamn time too.
Okay, sure.
Do you think that you get to call yourself some sort of like principled leftist who's out to do the right thing? How can you call yourself the home of progressives when you are actively cutting deals with fascists about the rights of trans people?
What is this person talking about? Cutting deal. What does that mean?
And then spreading transphobic nonsense to an audience of like millions of people. It is deeply irresponsible, and fundamentally it's pathetic. This is genuinely embarrassing. The degree to which this is irresponsible just knows no better.
Guys, I'm listening in my headphone as I walk away. I'm just fucking around. He probably is, but
Because there are so
don't walk your dog, Hasan.
literally looking
Not again.
like Jenk for opinions, and he's literally just giving them an open invitation to be as transphobic as they want to be because it's politically strategic.
They'll say that, but okay.
Okay. I like how these people could have just said, like Hasan and this other person could have just said, like, hey, I think that you're doing the wrong thing. You're focusing on the wrong stuff. I think it's hurting the movement. I disagree. Because I think that's what Anna's actually calling out. But like, no, they have to assign the intentionality that it's intentional. They're intentionally trying to misrepresent the actual narrative so that they can not get help from their worthless fucking teammates. They're trying to say that it's intentional. It's all just like optics. They're just trying to appeal to transphobic people, blah, 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 on purpose. They know what they're doing is harmful. They know what they're saying is wrong, and they're still doing it. That's the perspective that's coming here. That's what this person is saying. It couldn't just be like, what if they were just wrong and disagreed, but were well intentioned? It's so interesting how people will assume the worst intentions. Even in this video, I'm trying not to. Like I even said, like I'm pretty sure Hasan's just being lazy and not looking into it. But I could just be like, I think he's intentionally misrepresenting it for optics, blah blah blah. I think he's just being a fucking idiot, right? It's just so interesting.
Hey, you don't care about the politics? Let's just, for once in your life, think strategically about what that means.
This is, actually, this is really good. Yeah, this is exactly what is going on. I think she's 100% correct on that. Like the giving up on certain talking points specifically so you can be strategic is, I think, silly. And it's the exact same kind of triangulation that old TYT and TYT still to this day will shit on the Democratic Party for. It's just that they don't think it's worth fighting for. And that's the reason why they don't want to like...
He's right about that. I remember listening to Cenk Uygur talk to Destiny. I don't remember exactly what it was, but he made it seem like there was this intentionality to the Republican Party or to the Democratic Party to like, I don't know, it was fucking weird. They're all like so like driven by this concept that people are being intentionally malicious.
Educate people on why it's fucking silly and move on from it, or they just legitimately disagree with it. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's great. That's a great point by Ben Carollo. Benny, you guys said her name is right. She's trans, I think. She was a trans content creator at TYT. I don't know. I haven't fucking been involved in TYT for a very long time.
That means that you're going to continue pushing the Democratic Party to unequivocally support everything that the trans activists want, even if it's unpopular among the electorate. That means they're not getting reelected. That means they're going to lose to Republicans. Republican lawmakers who are passing draconian, disgusting legislation in various states right now as we speak against the transgender community.
Look at this. You're going to push the Democratic Party to unequivocally support everything the trans activists want. Like, shut up. Literally, shut the fuck up. This is so embarrassing. Like, Anna Kasparian, and like, look, I'm going to be real. This is my personal opinion, but whatever. I think Anna Kasparian is genuinely personally transphobic. I'm just going to say it right now. She's like saying and doing all of the things. She's referring to every trans person as a trans rights activist. Referencing every trans person as a trans rights activist is just, on its face, literally transphobic. And it's one of the things...
What? I've truly not... Somebody help me out. What is this person saying? I'm not understanding. I don't understand what's happening. Like, I don't understand what is transphobic, considering calling all trans people activists? I don't think I get it. Hold on.
Shut the fuck up. This is so embarrassing. Like, Anna Kasparian...
I have to re-listen to what she's saying.
Who are passing draconian, disgusting legislation, pushing the Democratic Party to unequivocally support everything that the trans activists want, even if it's unpopular among the electorate. That means they're not getting reelected. That means they're going to lose to Republicans. Republican lawmakers who are passing draconian, disgusting legislation in various states right now as we speak against the transgender community.
Look at this. You're gonna push a Democratic Party to unequivocally support everything the trans activists want. Like, shut up. Literally, shut the fuck up. This is so embarrassing. Like, Anna Kasparian, and like, look, I'm gonna be real. This is my personal opinion, but whatever. I think Anna Kasparian is genuinely personally transphobic. I'm just gonna say it right now. She's like saying and doing all of the things. She's referring to every trans person as a trans rights activist. Referencing every trans person as a trans rights activist is just, on its face, literally transphobic.
I don't get it. I don't understand the point there. It sounds like Anna Kasparian's just talking about how some platforms are going too far in what they're saying, and that'll cause the Democratic Party to agree with it if they want to. I don't know if that will just get Republicans elected. I don't know if I agree with that part. But I don't know how it's transphobic to criticize the general. I don't get how she's saying. I just don't get. I don't see what's the transphobic part. What is? I don't get. I'm like really struggling. I must be maybe I'm a fucking idiot. Because I truly am not understanding what they're. It just sounds like they're trying to virtue signal and say she's being transphobic by saying all trans people are activists. But I don't know, bro. I must be a fucking idiot. I mean, shouldn't all trans people be activists to some extent? But she's only really talking about the people that are being public about it. So wouldn't that make them activists by definition? I don't really get the point here. Maybe I'm lost in the sauce. I don't know.
And it's one of the things that transphobes have been pushing for a long time, is just calling every trans person a trans rights activist. I mean, and the media more broadly does this as well. And this whole idea of like, you're going to lose the Republicans. You're going to lose the Republicans if you cater to these trans people. Once again, is entirely
come back here.
Most people are fine with trans people. And when Republicans make their entire platform about attacking...
Papa Ben is claiming that when Anna says trans activist, she's calling all trans people transphobic when she did. What? Yeah, I don't get
trans people, it actually does undermine their political success. We just live in a country that is very much not a democracy. It has all this gerrymandering and all these other things. And so Republicans still have like seats in a lot of places. I know, wild concept. But genuinely, if you look at their poll numbers in response to them focusing on just trans people existing, it's not working. It is genuinely not working for them. It is undermining their electoral success. But of course...
Okay, I understand that point. The point that this person's making, or she's making right now, is that Republicans are obsessed with trans issues and it's not helping them. It's not really, people are, they're kind of losing a little bit of power because they have no other platform. So that would, and I guess that's a good argument against what Anna's saying. That doesn't make her transphobic though. Like you can disagree with her without her being fucking transphobic, right? That would be the point that I would make. Okay, well, we're fucking, I could just pull him out, but I thought he would be fine. Okay, whatever.
You can't not take the opportunity to blame trans people for their own oppression, am I right? It's really great that Anna Kasparian is doing this.
And by the way, you schmucks, you're falling exactly into the right-wing trap. The Republicans, they tried everything. They tried anti-gay stuff, it didn't work. They tried trans bathrooms, you remember that? That didn't work. Kicking the transgender community out of the military, that didn't work. They drilled in until they finally found a little tiny nugget of like, hey, trans folks in like competitive sports seems a little bit much. And you don't engage them in that fight. They lose on everything else. But idiot activists, yes, I just called you an idiot. Activists go in there and go, no, I'm gonna fall right into that trap and I'm gonna fight on the only losing ground we have so we can elect more Republicans so they can pass more anti-LGBT.
I mean, the counter to this is really simple. It's like civil rights movement, deeply and undesirably unpopular. Saying that like this in and of itself at the time is not a worthy cause is exactly what Martin Luther King was criticizing when he talked about the white moderate. Yeah, Benny is on the money with this.
JK's production became a member.
Oh, thank you so much for the membership.
The real icing on the cake here is this tweet where Anna Kasparian has decided to unilaterally declare Jesse Singal to not be a transphobe.
Became a member.
Oh shit! It's everybody. It's everybody. It's just it's refreshing. It's just refreshing it. Oh shit.
Mellow.
I'm gonna skip through all of them because those are just refreshing ones. Thank you so much though.
And this is what's really wild.
What the fuck? Jesse Signal, which by the way I didn't even fucking realize his name was Singal. I thought it was Signal this whole time. He's a transphobic person. That's all he does. All he does is fucking complain about trans people. He's got trans on the mind non-fucking stop.
I'm subscribed to Blocked and Reported. I have listened to endless podcast episodes from Blocked and Reported. I haven't seen anything from Jesse Singal that communicates to me that he is a transphobe, that he is a bad person.
I'm not gonna lie, that in and of itself is significantly worse than any of the other tweets.
I just have no idea who that person is, so I can't really comment on anything.
So you guys showed me today. You could have just shown me that, and I would have. That is the worst thing. I've seen so far. It's the whole like it's the whole show me why J.K. Rowling is transphobic narrative. You know what I mean? You're right to treat transphobia like a disease. No, it's 100% mental illness. It really is. Society's transphobic. You wake up, you grow up, you develop object permanence, and you also develop certain sets of standards. Transphobia is one of those standards. I've had this conversation a million times over. So there is like a absolutely there is like a level of transphobia that everyone has in the beginning. But then there's two avenues that you can go down. You either look at that situation. So that's the reason why most people have apathy towards trans people, right? The overwhelming majority. They just like don't give a shit. They think trans people are kind of weird, but they don't think about it that much. So there's two different ways when you see a trans person in the real world, or when you are met with trans issues, right, that get blasted in front of your face. You can go either way. You either go down the route of like not being transphobic and educating yourself about culturally speaking what role gender is played in society and how different that is from our current understanding of it. You look at biology and you become not transphobic. I myself have gone through a similar journey. Or you go in the other direction, and the other direction is really scary because a lot of people do take that path. And they just become incredibly transphobic, like further and further and further. Like every single day, every new day, there's another thing that you look at that makes your that melts your mind a little bit further about how like trans people are a certain way.
I find it interesting because now we're having a conversation about some form of like alt-right pipeline. What he's saying is that once you engage in I love how just so fucking like weirdly, I don't know if I want to say gaslighty, but it's just pathetic and lazy. Hey, any take that might be against trans people is bad because it just leads you to have actual transphobic takes. So the argument here is, hey, you can't say, despite the fact like trans women shouldn't compete in sports, even if you're talking about how like there is a biological advantage that is going to make it so that you don't have to work nearly as hard as a cisgendered woman. You shouldn't say that because it might lead you to believe in transphobic shit. And we're talking about the alt-right pipeline. And I love how when progressives talk about the alt-right pipeline, they'll never talk about how progressives push people to go into like this alt-right space. They'll never talk about that. They never talk about how like canceling people for disagreements and labeling them as like fucking transphobic Nazis or whatever pushes people farther to the right. They'll never talk about that. Like they never talk about how like when somebody will have a particular perspective or something and they'll express it and they get shit on and nobody will explain it to them and it just pushes people farther to the right. But I always enjoy this like fucking alt-right virtue signal.
It's really sad. It's really sad until you ultimately arrive at what I like to call the highest stage of transphobia as a mental illness, and that is, of course, transvestigations. It's like a closed circuit at that point. You've arrived at the reality that gender is culturally defined. Gender is a social construct. But because you can't cope with that, because you can't recognize that reality, you start thinking everyone is technically trans. Everyone's trans.
This reminds me of the energy when Ethan was trying to explain to like when that segment of Abram Preach what gender was, and he was just kind of floundering a little bit.
Like start yelling at cis people who have like given birth. And you go, oh my God, this person is secretly trans. Matt Walsh is one of those people. And if you don't want to constantly fucking obsess over, I don't know, whatever some Hollywood celebrities.
You can't see why we can't have trans sports or co-ed. Like, yeah, I mean, you could, but there just wouldn't be enough people to compete in it. That's, I think, the issue that people have.
Children are wearing, or children's genitals on a regular basis. Then, if you don't want to go down that pipeline, learn that trans people are among us. It's totally normal, and perhaps we shouldn't shut off medical access to gender-affirming care.
Yeah, we all agree with that one. At least Anna, you, and I do, but you're still vilifying her.
Many cis people use, myself included, Anna Kasparian included, and Joe Rogan certainly has utilized like all matter of different gender-affirming care. As a person who got a hair transplant in the beginning, as a person who has literally taken HRT, hormone replacement therapy, for his entire life. He has been an advocate for TRT for as long as I've known him. He is the reason why I will most likely at a certain point take TRT once I hit like 35, 36.
Well, then you're going to lose your hair, dude. Okay. Cool video. The whole thing seemed dumb as shit.